Hello, everyone, and welcome to Clarksville's Political Forum. I'm Van Stokes, your moderator for today's session. And on behalf of Leadership Clarksville and Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce, we're glad you could be with us today. This forum is coming to you from the facilities of the Mass Communications Department here on the campus of Austin Peay State University. And it's intended for you, the viewers and the voters, to have an informed choice when you go to the polls on August the 7th. Today, we're going to have the opportunity to meet and greet the candidates who will be on the ballot for Juvenile Court Judge. They are, to my left, Mr. Tim Barnes and Ms. Muriel Bullock-Neal. Now, in a moment, they will each have 2 minutes in which to present opening comments. Following our opening remarks, we will then turn to our panelists for questions. Joining us once again are our panelists, a distinguished group they are, business editor and county government writer from the Leaf Chronicle, Mr. Jimmy Settle. From 5 Star Radio and ClarksvilleNow.com, Mr. Lee Irwin. And the executive director of Progressive Directions and the president-elect of Civitan International, Mr. Jay Albertia. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to each question posed by our panelists today. At the conclusion of the questioning, each candidate will then have 2 minutes in which to present closing remarks. Closing remarks will be presented in reverse order from their opening comments. Our timekeeper for today's session, Ms. Kim Miller. Let's get to our candidates now for opening comments if we can. First of all, we will hear from Mr. Tim Barnes.
Thank you, Van. I'd like to first of all thank Leadership Clarksville and the Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce for providing us this forum. Thank you. My name is Tim Barnes, and I've been in Montgomery County since 1988. I first came to town, and since that time I've been engaged in the practice of law continuously since 1988. I've had the opportunity to practice in all courts of Montgomery County and throughout the state of Tennessee, and in that time I have gained the respect and esteem of my colleagues and have gained vast amounts of courtroom experience. I have 3 children, Patrick, who is a student here at Austin Peay State University, Molly, who is at Rossview High School, and Fergus, who is at Rossview High School. I attend Faith Outreach Church and I'm a member there. In addition to the experience that I've gained as a lawyer, for the past 3.5 years, I have been the juvenile court magistrate. During that time, I have heard more than 10,000 juvenile cases, presided over that many cases. And I can tell you, it's not an easy job. People ask me, Tim, how can you do it? Why do you want to do that job? You see some of the most horrific cases of abuse and neglect, and I do, and I ask myself that sometimes. But I can tell you the reason that I do it is because of the difference that we're able to make in the lives of these families and these children. We can't make a difference in every case. Not everyone will listen, not everyone will participate in the resources we provide. But I can tell you that through my experience, I arrange the docket in such a way that I dispose of the cases that we can dispose of quickly and spend the time and resources on the cases that need it and the cases that we can make a difference. It's very rewarding for me to see parents step up and start doing the job that they should be doing and to get juveniles off the track of delinquency and a life of crime and get them on a track of success. That's what I have been doing. That's what I want to continue to do with your help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear opening comments from Muriel Bullock-Neal.
Yes, I'd like to also thank you for inviting us to participate in this political forum. I'm delighted to be here. I transitioned to Clarksville, Tennessee, the state of Tennessee, almost 30 years ago. I have been actively involved in juvenile justice throughout my entire career here. I am married to Dr. Arthur Neal, who's Director of Veterans Upward Bound Program here at Austin Peay State University. Together we have 3 children, Mark Bullock, Lynette Bullock, and Arthur Lee Neal Jr., and 2 grandsons. My educational background is unique in that not only do I have a law degree, I also have a doctorate in special education with support fields in clinical child psychology, family therapy, and counseling psychology. And with my background and my work experiences, this makes me uniquely qualified to provide services and to be an effective judge, juvenile court judge. I look forward to the opportunity to serve. My lifelong commitment has been working with juveniles. I serve on several task forces, the Special Education and Juvenile Justice Task Force. I serve on Clarksville Civitan. I'm a member of Trinity Episcopal Church, former chairperson of the Red Cross, and current member of the board. All of my experiences with the youth over the years will assist me and enable me to come up with additional programs to meet the needs of our youth, because there is a disproportionality in the number of minority youth who are involved in the system.
Thank you very much. We've heard opening comments now from both of our candidates. It's time to turn to our panelists for the questions. Our first question is going to come from Mr. Jimmy Settle, and it will be answered first by Mr. Barnes.
Mr. Barnes, both of you have made introductory remarks. Please, if you will, pinpoint and describe those aspects of yourself that you feel uniquely qualify you for that seat of juvenile court judge.
Thank you, Jimmy. I think that if you're going to be a judge of a court, you need courtroom experience. That is the most relevant experience you can have. And for over 25 years, I've been actively engaged in the practice of law, and I've gained the support of the bar. I'm proud to say that I have a lot of support among the lawyers who have known me, who have practiced with me, who have been in the courtroom with me, and who have been in front of me since I've been a magistrate. And because of that experience, I'm able to arrange the docket in such a way that we can focus on the cases that need the most attention first. It's a matter of the experience and the confidence that the bar has in me that I think uniquely qualifies me to continue as a judge.
Ms. Bullock-Neal.
Yes, I'm uniquely qualified, as I mentioned earlier, because of my unique training and background. And as such, I have worked with families over many years relative to various issues that confront them as it relates to the juvenile justice system. I have served as a guardian ad litem, solicitor ad litem in the courts, been a part of the teen court, participated in IEP meetings, due process hearings, manifestation hearings, truancy hearings, foster care review boards, a variety of services legal services that I have provided to the youth in this community. I have a lifelong commitment to working with parents and the passion for making sure that our young people receive the services that's necessary.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lee Irwin, you have the next question, and it's going to go to Ms. Bullock-Neal.
Ms. Bullock-Neal, so perhaps we'll have a little better understanding of the juvenile court system. How do you define the role of this judgeship in the judicial process?
Well, the juvenile court is unique in that we have youngsters that come in for a variety of issues, whether it's delinquency, whether it's child abuse and neglect, truancy, etc. And I see the role of the court is to rehabilitate youngsters and not necessarily be punitive. I know the Act says it's not punishment, it's rehabilitation, but based on the research, we find that many minority youth do not receive the same level of programming and rehabilitation that non-minority children face. So that would be a prime concern that I would see, that the juvenile court system must adjust this and provide the necessary services to all of our young people.
Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, Lee. This gives me an opportunity to clear up a little bit of confusion about this new court position. It's on the ballot as juvenile court, but actually it has concurrent general sessions jurisdiction. So it's not just juvenile court, it's general sessions as well. And fortunately, I have experience in general sessions, juvenile, chancery circuit, and all the courts. But the primary focus of this court will be juvenile court. There are two major ways to get to this court and that is dependency neglect, and I explained that is when the parents do something wrong, either abuse or neglect, and delinquency, that's when the children do something wrong. And indeed, the purpose of juvenile court is rehabilitation. That has been my focus. That is what I focus on in dealing with the youth. I'll continue to do that. It makes no difference what the color of your skin is, your background. I am going to follow the law and apply the law in juvenile court.
Mr. J. Alberti, you have the next question. It's going to go to Mr. Tim Barnes.
Mr. Barnes, what do you see as some of the largest or biggest issues facing our juvenile population today in essence with the court system?
Thank you, Jay. When I first took the bench as juvenile magistrate, we had about 11,000 juvenile cases per year. That has grown this past year to 16,000. Anytime you have that kind of increase, you can quickly overwhelm your resources. So the number one challenge in juvenile court is resources. I think eventually we're going to have to move towards some kind of juvenile justice resource center that would include not just detention, but try to put all the resources in one place. We currently spend $132 per juvenile per night when we send a child to Columbia. That's a tremendous expense that we could save on if we had our own juvenile facility, and I think that's what we need.
Ms. Bullock-Neal.
Yes, I would say that focusing on the high number of adjudications or cases that enter the system is not the approach needed. The approach that's needed is to evaluate the effectiveness of the current system and then modify to make it sure that it addresses what the needs are of the youth in our community. And recognizing that from the national data, the state data, and the local data, we have a disproportionate number of minority children who receive different types of rehabilitation programs. I see us expanding the available resources, greater collaboration with the school system, the sheriff's department, the police department, to come up with some type of memorandum of understanding to reduce the number of youth that come through our system.
Mr. Jimmy Settle, you got the next question, and it's going to go to Ms. Bullock-Neal.
Thank you. Ms. Bullock-Neal, from your observation, how can the community play a role in making our juvenile court system work and in so doing reduce the caseload?
The community involvement is crucial. I currently serve as the chairperson of the Disproportionate Minority Task Force in Montgomery County, and each year we have an annual joint conference on juvenile justice that involves the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth and various other organizations, juvenile justice, from the state level. We have forums to inform parents about cyberbullying, gangs, suicide prevention, etc. And in doing this, this is one way we can incorporate it also on the juvenile justice level to keep parents informed, train them of what resources are available in the community. We had over 20 agencies to participate in this, and it gave the youth and their parents an opportunity to see what resources are available. This surely would help reduce some of the costs if there was greater collaboration, community involvement, and resources available.
Mr. Barnes?
Certainly, more collaboration and more involvement from the community would be crucial. I see so many times, especially in delinquency cases, children coming through, they come from a one-parent home, that parent is overwhelmed, and a lot of times, especially with the young men in our community, they have no role models. And the mentoring programs have been very important. We have the LEAP program, we have through the Clarksville Police Department, the Youth Coalition program. Those are great mentoring programs. You can't just inform, you've got to take these kids and you've got to work with them on a daily basis and to provide for them the examples that they need, the information they need, the role models they need to make better decisions, better choices. So those mentoring programs coordinated with perhaps churches and some of the other organizations that could participate would be very helpful in dealing with especially our delinquency issues.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lee Irwin, you have the next question. It's going to go to Mr. Tim Barnes.
Mr. Barnes, if you could narrow it down, what do you think is the number one priority of this office of General Sessions and Juvenile Court Judge, and how would you propose to handle that problem?
There are two distinct problems when you talk about juvenile court. When you talk about dependency neglect cases, you're talking about parenting and the lack of parenting skills. The people that come before us in dependency neglect, there has been a serious instance of neglect or series of instances or abuse. And so it's important in that capacity to provide those parents with parenting classes and other resources to try to rehabilitate them in such a way that they can effectively parent. The other main category are the delinquency cases, and that's where we have kids who are making bad decisions, and we need to provide them with the opportunities to get back on the right track to success. Family function is the number one barrier against delinquency. The second one is school connectedness. So I want to make sure that we work with the families, put the counseling in the families to increase that family function and to try to get them better connected with their schools.
Ms. Bullock-Neal.
Several opportunities should be made available to parents regarding the juvenile justice system. We, as the task force, have been involved with some of the same agencies that Mr. Barnes has mentioned, the LEAP and the Coalition Police Department, the Explorers with the Sheriff Department, all the churches. All of these were participants in our Juvenile Justice Conference. And the priority should be to continue this, but also a priority should include greater connection with the school system, because we know from data that children who cannot read by the end of the third grade, that's a direct correlation with the number of inmates and beds that are built for prisons. So we know that correlation is there. We know we need to work with parents. We need to take all these things into consideration as we form our priorities.
Thank you very much. Mr. J. Alberti, you have the next question. It's going to go to Ms. Bullock-Neal.
Ms. Bullock-Neal, what juvenile programs do you foresee in the next 4 years that we need to tackle in our community, and how do we go about tackling those programs?
Well, there are several programs. One is mentoring. That is a very crucial one, but I would see the non-traditional one of using holistic mentoring and not just a traditional mentoring program. And as I mentioned earlier, programs that interact and relate with the police department and sheriff's department, since we have the SRO officers that come out of the sheriff's department, we need to make sure that there is greater collaboration, a memorandum of understanding, and possibly model the SHAPE program that has been very successful, which deals with programs after school at the schools to address kids who have been sent to the Juvenile Justice Center.
Mr. Barnes?
Jay, it's a good question. We currently have some good programs in this county, and the problem sometimes is we don't coordinate them very well. And a lot of times the people that are involved in one program don't really know what people in another program are doing. That's why I think that when we ultimately move toward our own juvenile resource center, it will help things because we'll put everybody in the same place. Also, when you have a juvenile center and you deal with your detention within county, it gives you more options. Instead of just sending a kid to Columbia for a few days, you can stair-step that. You can release them. You can send them back home for a period of time. You can give them weekends. So there are options you have with a resource center with all the resources in one place that you can't have when you have that distance involved. Also, you have visitation that you can do. You can involve the parents more in the process when you have the children here. When we take them out, I think we really do a disservice for those children if it's anything more than a 72-hour period. So bringing all the resources together would help tremendously.
Thank you very much. If you have just joined us, you're watching Clarksville's Political Forum. We're meeting with candidates right now for Juvenile Court Judge, Mr. Tim Barnes, and Ms. Muriel Bullock-Neal. Let's go back to our panelists if we can. Jimmy Settle, it comes back to you. Your question goes to Mr. Barnes.
Thank you. Mr. Barnes, earlier today we heard some circuit court judge candidates talk about a need for some help from the state legislature in getting more teeth into laws and the prosecutory effort. Do you feel the same is true in the juvenile division?
I think there are certain things that we can focus on that would perhaps help the situation, but remember, Jimmy, that the focus of juvenile is totally different from circuit. In circuit, the focus is, frankly, that you detain and punish people who have broken the law. What we're trying to do in juvenile is to keep those juveniles from going down that track, to keep them from being a ward of the state in the penitentiary. So I think that there are two very different things. We need to focus on resources to rehabilitate, not for the purpose of punishment, and need to make sure that we make the parents step up to their responsibilities. If there's any need to increase any kind of penalties on someone, it should be the parents who are just totally deficient sometimes in their parenting.
Ms. Bullock-Neal?
No, I do not agree with the perspective from the circuit court. The Juvenile Court Act deals specifically with rehabilitation programs, and even within our system currently, we need to move from any type of punitive or punishment that we currently do and focus on rehabilitation. That should be the focus. And I believe that for every child that we prevent from going into the juvenile justice system, that's one less adult in the adult criminal justice system. So if we keep that in mind, then that would be a very good, a very positive effort to focusing on rehabilitation, providing services to parents, support parents, have parent training programs, as well as train some of the attorneys in some of the aspects of juvenile justice.
Thank you very much. We have time for one more question from each of our three panelists. Lee Irwin, it goes to you. Your question goes to Ms. Bullock-Neal.
Ms. Bullock-Neal, there are times when it seems the judicial process is a bit, I guess to use the word, cumbersome. What, if anything, do you think should be changed in that process to make it less difficult to manage?
Well, Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth several years ago came up with an assessment plan, and some of the courts, some of the juvenile justice courts use that plan, and that assessment instrument allows for judges to review the individual situation, home life, etc. And based on that, they can then coordinate some of the programs that they recommend. And having some type of systematic evaluative tool can help with this process. In addition, the collaboration with the school systems can help, because as in the SHAPE program, the number of juveniles who have been forwarded to the juvenile justice system has greatly been reduced, because the school system now is forced to handle many of the cases that should go there rather than end up in the juvenile justice system.
Mr. Barnes?
I think that the juvenile justice system, just like all the courts, can become cumbersome and time-consuming, and that's a complaint of a lot of people. That's where an experienced judge comes into play. When you have 25 years courtroom experience, I guarantee you just about every lawyer that's up there trying something, I've done it myself. So I know how to manage that docket. I know how to move those cases along. I'm moving along the 16,000 a year juvenile cases as quickly as we did the 11,000 or more quickly, simply because I have the experience to know which cases we can deal with quickly, get them off the docket, so we can move on to the cases that do require that attention. And how you move the docket along and how cumbersome it is has a lot to do with how that judge manages the docket, and that all comes from experience.
Mr. J. Alberti, you have the next question. It goes to Mr. Barnes.
Mr. Barnes, knowing a little bit about the juvenile justice system, because my mother was in it for 28 years for juveniles, the one thing that keeps being talked about many times is about a juvenile detention center, and we've thrown the term resource center around. Why is that important, and what can we do to get one in our community?
Well, the detention facility we currently use in Columbia. We transport the kids to Columbia. As I say, they charge us $132 a night. We can do it for much less. We can become a regional center for Stewart, Houston, Dixon, Cheatham County, and not only can we save money, I think that it can become a resource for us. But it needs to focus not just on detention. We need to look at all the resources. Part of it may be detention, but many times just detaining someone is not what we need to do. Detention under the juvenile law is strictly for a situation where that child is a threat to the community or a threat to others. And that is something I look carefully at. I try not to detain, but if after I have a probable cause hearing, I've got a kid that's breaking into houses, that's doing things that's a threat to himself and to others, yes, I'll detain.
Ms. Bullock-Neal.
Yes, the detention center that we currently use, as he mentioned, is in Maury County, Columbia. I am not in favor of a detention center here in Montgomery County for various reasons. The more beds you build, the more beds you fill. I believe in rehabilitation. We already have secure confinement places that throughout the state that we have our young people being sent to. I believe the focus should be on rehabilitation of our youth in our community with our community involvement.
Mr. Jimmy Settle, you have the last question for our candidates, and it will be addressed to Ms. Bullock-Neal.
Okay, Ms. Bullock-Neal, I would like to, maybe looking back, if you could please describe, if you can recall a defining moment, maybe a particular case or court action or even a personal moment that caused you to decide to seek the juvenile court judgeship.
Over the last 11 years that I have been involved in the Montgomery court system, I have observed the differentiation in treatment and programs that our youth are afforded to. And from the very early on, I recognized that I need to become a juvenile court judge in order to effectuate change, to develop the programs that I know that are effective, to develop evaluative programs. So this has been my passion for many years, working with juveniles, providing services to them and to their parents. And I've had parents to come and thank me for my level of involvement because I spend a lot of time with the parents reviewing their cases prior to going to court, and follow up after court. I've been invited to a lot of students' graduations, and parents call and give me periodic updates.
Mr. Barnes.
Jimmy, as you may or may not know, the juvenile court magistrate serves at the pleasure of the judges. And so I did not seek the position. The judges came to me. Out of all the licensed attorneys in Montgomery County, they came to me and they asked me to serve in that position. And I agreed to do so. In filling that role, it's been one of the most rewarding things I have ever done. And one of the things I noticed early on is that some of the kids up there, particularly those who are charged with delinquency, I've had occasion to tell them, you can be successful. And I've had them looking around, not paying attention until I tell them, you can be successful. And I've seen the look in their eyes, and I have learned that being juvenile judge is just not applying the rules of evidence and the procedural rules and the substantive rules with regard to juvenile law. It's also being a part coach and inspirational speaker. And I have enjoyed seeing those kids turn around. I've enjoyed telling them, hey, you can be successful, and getting them on the right track.
Thank you very much. We've had the questions from our panelists. They have included areas that deal with neglect, delinquency, abuse, the challenges and the resources with the juvenile court system, as well as the process of the juvenile justice system. We've talked about detention centers, potential for, as well as resource centers. A lot of great questions. We go now to our closing comments from each of our two candidates. We will hear first from Ms. Mariel Bullock-Neal.
I am uniquely qualified. I'm the only candidate who is trained and have experience in addressing the needs of the whole child and not just the issues or the offense that comes before the bench. As a result, I'm able to apply the holistic approach as to address all the issues, as well as the developmental approach which recognizes that children go through different phases and that there are behaviors that are indicative of each developmental phase. I've had numerous experience with working with the community. I have intricately been involved in the welfare of our children in the court system, the juvenile justice system, the General Sessions, Circuit Court, U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Tennessee. Data shows that approximately 60% of the youth who come into the juvenile justice system are children with mental health issues, behavioral issues, or a qualified disability. Therefore, my background in mental health, psychology, and counseling, and special education provides me with a perspective that will effectuate a competent adjudication of these issues and be able to make the proper recommendations for evaluation and rehabilitation. Additionally, the disproportionate number of minority children who enter the system must be addressed. Data indicate that a disproportionate number of minority children are referred to juvenile court, placed in secure detention, have cases petitioned, and have cases that result in delinquency. With my educational background and training and experience, it is time for a change. The juvenile justice system needs to reflect the community. For every child we prevent from going to the juvenile justice system or rehabilitate prevents the less than number of adults coming into the criminal justice system. And for justice that is real, vote for Muriel Bullock Neal.
Thank you very much. And now we will hear closing comments from Mr. Tim Barnes.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk about my vision for the juvenile court. I'm asking for your vote and support for this reason, for the youth of this county, because they deserve the best judge we can possibly elect. They deserve a judge with experience and competence, proven leadership, proven respect and esteem held by the local bar. I'm the candidate who has that. I'm the candidate who has experience in sitting as judge, not only in the 3.5 years that I've been the juvenile court magistrate, but in earlier years, beginning in 1991, when I served as Judge Pro Tem for Judge Catalano and Judge Wayne Shelton. I have the experience to make the difference in these children's lives. I have a demonstrated record of having made differences in the lives of families and juveniles who come before me. And for that reason, I ask for your support. Thank you.
And thank you very much to our candidates today here on the ballot for juvenile court judge. I want to say thank you for your time and thank you for your candor in responding to the questions posed by our panelists today. I want to say thank you also to our panelists. Once again, gentlemen, thank you very much for that good round of questions, and tell you that it has been a pleasure to work with you once again. For those of you that are watching at home, I want to remind you that we have a responsibility, we have a right, and it's our duty to go to the polls on August the 7th for the state primary and county general elections. Now, if you prefer early voting, the early voting period runs from July the 18th through August the 2nd. You can vote at the Montgomery County Election Commission. You'll find them at Montgomery Veterans Plaza, 350 Pageant Lane. I want to say once again thank you to the Mass Communications Department here on the campus of Austin Peay State University, to Leadership Clarksville and your Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce for making today's political forum possible. Thank you for watching, everyone. Good night.